This episode is brought to you by Visit Jacksonville. Sure, we get spring breakers, but you're more likely to find breaking waves ridden by surfers and pelicans. Picture a canopy of oak trees shading an historic neighborhood. We're a little bit of country and a whole lot of southern rock and roll. That's Jacksonville in a nutshell. And it's time to share it with your friends and family. Visit Jacksonville is giving you the chance to win a dream staycation this summer. It's the perfect getaway right in your own backyard. You could win a weekend full of exciting opportunities at Jacksonville's best local restaurants, attractions, and more, complete with a 3-night hotel stay. Do you have friends coming to town this summer and need ideas for them to do? From hidden gems to must-see spots, Visit Jacksonville has you covered. Download the Visit Jax app or go to visitjacksonville.com for your summer inspiration and your chance to win.
We're back. Speakeasy Jax, what you think, man? That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's been great so far. I'm really excited about today's guest. But before we get into that, what'd you do this weekend?
Man, I did a bunch of nothing. Rebecca was working at the hospital all week, weekend long, and man, I hate being by myself. That is the worst ever. And all I did was try to work out, stay busy. I hung out with Gabe a little bit.
Yard work.
All the things that she needed me to do until she got back home. So how about you? What'd you
I
do?
actually had a good evening at the town center. I went to Whiskey Cake. You've been to Whiskey Cake,
Yeah, I've been
right?
to Whiskey Cake. That's a pretty cool place.
It was
man.
really good.
Yeah.
The food was excellent. The bar's really cool. The service was great. So I
Awesome.
highly recommend.
Awesome.
But also, while we're on that subject, shout out to Manifest Distilling for hosting
look at
this.
Got a little
Yeah.
Manifest glass.
What are we? In fact, what are we drinking?
It's the Manifest Bourbon Rye, and I got to tell you, it's got one of the prettiest labels I've ever seen on a bourbon bottle. So pretty
Is
good
that
stuff.
a Jaguar? That
I love
see?
it. Looks good. So our first guest today, somebody who's been a dear friend of mine for a long time, and I think you're going to really enjoy getting a chance to talk to him. Great guy in Jacksonville, has served our city for years and years, grew up here, has got some great stories. When we talk about unfiltered stories, I'm a little bit scared about a couple of his unfiltered stories because I don't know what he's going to bring to the table.
He can be a little unhinged sometimes.
And he may know a little bit too much about me, but I'm pretty excited to have and invite Michael Corrigan, President and CEO of Visit Jax, to join us on Speakeasy.
So before he comes up, I just got to ask, is it Michael or Mike? Because you know how sometimes, so for instance, like if somebody calls you Dan, I know they don't really know you because you only go by Daniel. So do we call him Mike or Michael?
He goes by formerly Michael.
Okay.
But, his closest could throw in a Mike every once in a while. So if you hear me
I'll
say that,
let you do that. And
you know I'm okay, but it's Michael for everybody else.
Gotcha.
All right?
Makes sense.
So Michael Corrigan, welcome. So good to see you, bro. Thanks for coming in and joining us.
Hey, Michael.
DJ, it's great to see you. Perfect.
So how's your day going so far?
It's going fantastic. It's exciting and super thrilled to be here at Manifest to talk to you guys. You referenced talking some, stories. I know some stories.
Well,
I look forward to that.
Tone it down just a little bit. We don't need to jump into that too fast. Michael.
I'll keep it. It'll just build as we sit here and have our conversation.
So, President and CEO of Visit Jax. That's a pretty important position. I mean, obviously, economic development with people you bring here. You bring people to Jacksonville, then they decide they want to start a business here or stay here because they love our community so much. And you got a lot of pressure on you on a daily basis. I understand that, but I know you can live with pressure. So what I understand about the president and CEO of Visit Jax is basically you go like spas every day, or like you go to resorts, or wine tastings.
It's spa, then go play golf, and then go to the spa.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure
typical
that
day.
we figured out what your day was like.
Yeah, it's very similar to yours.
I was going to say, both y'all got it pretty good, it sounds like.
Oh, geez. Come on, man.
I know.
My board thinks I'm working every day.
I don't get 36 holes in, but I do get 18.
Okay, touche. All right, I won't throw any at you like that anymore. But brother, it's great to have you, and I've known you for many, many years. It's probably close to 20.
It's hitting probably close to 25.
25 that we've been friends and have served together, and I'm just honored to have you here on the podcast and look forward to it.
Super thrilled to be here. I mean, obviously I know you better than I know you, TJ, but I'm looking forward to the great conversation. I love, obviously you mentioned Visit Jacksonville. I love Visit Jacksonville. I've been there almost 6.5 years now. And, a lot of people say, well, I got my dream job. I really do have my dream job. And I agree with you. It's one of the best opportunities in the city to have who else gets to go out around the country and sell your hometown, which is what I get to do.
So
and
cool.
It is such an awesome opportunity and responsibility as well. And you touched on it. I mean, the one thing everybody has to do before they move their business here or move their family here, unless you're in the military and get assigned here all of a sudden, you come visit.
Yeah.
And at Visit Jacksonville, we're that first image you get. And even more importantly, and I tell our team all the time, it's the first image you get when you get here. It's also the last thing you remember when you leave. Yeah. And that's what makes Jacksonville different than other communities.
You've used that a couple of times when we've been in London pitching Jacksonville to the different CEOs that are thinking about moving their companies here, is that, hey, the first thing you have to do is visit. That's my job.
Right.
And once you visit, you're going to fall in love.
And then it moves over to the chamber.
My job is to get you to move your company
right.
here.
It is. I mean, before I took this job, you remember, I called you up and said, let's sit down and talk about this. And we had that exact conversation. Mm-hmm. Daniel, I want to bring them here the first time, and I want to help you get them to move their business here and move their family here. And we're doing it every day. And that's
cool.
amazing.
So cool.
Michael, I just wondered, in the time that you have been CEO of Visit Jax, have you seen the way that people look at Jacksonville change much, as far as this becoming a destination for people to move to? What has
100%.
that been like?
I mean, I'd love to say it's our work, and maybe a little bit of it is, but it's a lot more of what's happened in society in general, and what's happened in the economy, and quite frankly, what happened, the pandemic, the horrible pandemic we had, that changed Jacksonville's opportunity to do that. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on a negative note, but in 2020, when the pandemic happened, Jacksonville had two things that, or didn't have two things that everybody wanted to avoid. We did not have an amusement park, and we didn't have a massive convention center. So people were looking for anything but that. Everybody still wanted to come to Florida, and Jacksonville had everything except those two items. And so many people came here, and they created what I call legacy tourists, because there are people that came here. You both know we have 840 square miles of things to see and do. They came here and said, that was incredible. It was a good value for my family and I, and we saw some really cool things, but we didn't have a chance to go to the beach. We were downtown, didn't have a chance to go to the beach. We were at the beach, didn't have a chance to go downtown. Heck, if you're here and you go down to St. Augustine for a day and come back, or in St. Augustine and come up here and back, that's still good. That's still building that love of an arena, of an area that we want to try to do and make people make a decision to come to Jacksonville.
Yeah, and we know how amazing it is because we live here and we see it day in and day out. But trying to get people to come check it out, y'all have both done a tremendous job of making sure that that's a priority. So. We appreciate what you're doing and wonder, do you have something kind of on the horizon that you're excited about as far as that's concerned?
Well, TJ, I don't think you can't talk Jackson without being excited about the stadium, the reimagining of the stadium of the future that's going to happen. There's a challenge that we have, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that, but we're going to have the best stadium in the state of Florida. And you don't have to have the best stadium in the country because everybody already wants to come to Florida. Yeah. So when you have the best stadium in the state of Florida, everybody's going to come here. And also, when you come to Jacksonville as a promoter or bringing something here, as a sports entity bringing something here, you can come to Jacksonville and you're going to pull from Miami to Atlanta. So you're going to be guaranteed a ticket revenue base that other communities don't have, and that's going to be a huge plus for us. But there's a challenge before that. The challenge before that is our stadium is going to be half capacity in 2026 and not here at all, not available at all in 27. So Visit Jacksonville has launched what we're calling a Bring It Home campaign. We all, even the listeners and people watching this podcast, we all go to other events in other towns, whether it's a convention, a conference, or whatever. And the question is, when's the last time you invited them to come to your hometown, the place that you're happy to live in? And that's what we're here to help you do. Yeah. Visit Jacksonville wants to help bring conferences and conventions here, especially to fill that void during 2027 and 2028.
So you talk about hometown. This is your hometown.
It is.
And that's pretty cool because I grew up here, TJ grew up here, and pretty excited to hear your story. And that's the whole purpose of this is people read your name in the paper, they see you on TV, but they don't really know Michael Corrigan. Right. And what I'd like to do is let's start with the story, man. What's your story? Where did you start off in Jacksonville, and and we'll be able to dive into a little bit of that.
Yeah, sure. I was born in Jacksonville at St. Vincent's Hospital. What was now Ascension, and about a mile from my house. I grew up on Talbot Avenue in Avondale.
All right.
Lived there until I was 8 years old, and moved to Avondale Avenue and lived there until I was in my adult years. And then when I got ready to buy my first house, I went back and bought 3 houses down on Talbot Avenue from where I was born. And then about 4 years later, I moved over back to Avondale Avenue on the same block that I grew up on. It was so cool because when I started having kids, the patches in the road that served as first and as home plate and second base were still there, and so were the 2 trees that were first and third. So I already knew how to set it up. But I spent 26 years on Avondale Avenue on the block I grew up with, growing my family and incredible. I married my wife Edna, and she's a hometown girl. We're probably pretty much a rarity. Both of us are hometown, and both of our parents were running small family businesses here in town. So, but had 3 kids, and now they're all grown up and adults, and now I have a grandchild. So it's
cool.
amazing. But when I got out of high school, we'll say I didn't overachieve in high school. That'd be the best way to phrase it.
I'm in the same group.
Yeah. Now, were you public school, private school?
I was at Bishop Kenny High School, and I barely graduated. I was last on graduation, not the last. My name's Corrigan, so I wasn't the last alphabetically, but I was the last person to make it on stage. And
hold on a second. If anybody is getting their knuckles wrapped by the ruler from the
I can only imagine.
sisters, Michael Corrigan was getting his knuckles tore up by the sisters.
I really.
Did they do that back then?
Oh yeah, they did that back then.
They don't do that anymore.
No, they don't do that anymore. But after I graduated, at the same time I was graduating, my father had an opportunity. He sold packaging products. He was a brokerage for packaging products, and the company that was supplying him this particular product, which was a 2-pack of pecan swirls or pecan twirls, he sold that package. The company locally that was providing those was getting repossessed by the bank. So he went to then Atlantic Bank and said, look, I need plastic trays, you need money, let's work out a deal. And he ended up buying the business from the bank. And so as I'm graduating high school, he's starting this manufacturing business, and I was fascinated. I get to make something. I mean, I always thought that was the coolest thing in the world, and went there, didn't know a thing about it.
Let's get into that in a second. I want to hear about the company, because that was back when you were on city council with me.
Yeah.
But how did you meet Edna? Let's talk a little bit about that, because I want to hear that backstory.
Yeah, Edna and I were in a wedding. I lived with my first cousin, Pete, and her best friend was Lori, and Pete and Lori got married. And we were both in the wedding. We were both dating somebody else, so we never knew each other were in the wedding. And about a year after that wedding, a group of us went to this, I think it was an NBA exhibition game at the Coliseum back then. We went to that game and got to know each other, and then saw each other again at the Corrigan family 4th of July down at the beach, and the rest is history. I mean, we were smitten with each other and started dating, and then got married about just over a year after that.
How did you convince her? So you must be good at sales, right? I mean,
I'm all sales. I mean, 100% sales.
Because you married way up. I think we all know that. I had the privilege of meeting your lovely wife in London recently, and she's sweet as she could be. And so how did you pull that off? That's what I want to know.
Okay, but this shouldn't be included in this podcast because it's not going to work out well for me. I was really good at sales at that point. And then we got far enough in it, she thought, all right, he convinced me this far, I'll just stay with it.
Committed.
But she's committed to it, and I mean, what an incredible mom she's been to my 3 kids, and a wife to me. I mean, just incredible, dedicated. And Daniel's referenced that that I've ran for office, and anytime you have a wife that lets you run for office, and that's a story. There's a really good story about that. A mutual friend, an ex-mutual friend, because he talked me to go into politics, asked me one day. He said, why don't you consider running for city council? I said, there's no way. The family business I told you about, it's going great. I'm not going to do that. And a few days later, I saw him, and he said, hey, what'd you decide? And I go, I'm not running. He goes, just ask Edna if she thinks you should run. I go, sure. Go home. I ask Edna if I should run for city council. And she says, no. And then she immediately says, we should run for city council.
Wow.
And I said, what? And she said, yeah, I've always thought that you would want to run for something eventually, and I think you'd be pretty good at it. And the rest is history.
That's awesome.
So
and she was right once again. Yeah. She was right.
with that kind of support, how do you not How do you not do it? And
the 3 kids. You got some beautiful kids. You got a beautiful family, beautiful grandkid. Tell me about those.
Well, 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. They are unbelievable. By this June, they'll all be 30 years and older, which makes me really young, or really look good really young.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know. But the oldest one is married and is in Washington, D.C., working for Geico in their HR department. The middle one is here, and the middle one has my grandbaby Corey, who's 2.5 now, and they live just a couple miles away from us, and she's working at Merrill Lynch. And then my son Connor is working at the city in the planning department. So having 2 out of 3 of them here, and the third one, the oldest one, comes down 3 or 4 times a year and visits. So, you both know. Yep. The kids is what we came to this world to do, is to have those kids. And they're amazing. It's interesting that they now are extremely independent adults. And as a parent, I always thought, I want to raise, strong, independent adults. Well, congratulations. They have opinions that I don't agree with now.
It's awesome. I don't want to create a kid that has to depend on me the rest of their life. And there's nothing more satisfying to seeing your kids work hard, go to school, get educated, get a great job, start a family. I mean, there's just no better feeling than that. And
to now be in the next level, we have a grandchild. I mean, she's 2.5. On Saturday morning, I get a FaceTime video from her that says, Papa, I want a Mulana fish. I want a Mulana fish. I didn't know that you can buy a Mulana fish rod and reel and fish. So as cold as Saturday was, we sat for 2 hours throwing this.
Ooh, that's thing. Brutal.
She gets whatever she wants, though, right?
Yeah, she was fishing as long as she wanted, TJ. There's no way I was going to say I was cold and go inside.
Right. What kind of bait? Did you get some bait?
The fishing kit that this comes with a fish on it, so she had guaranteed results every time.
There you go.
That's what you need, Daniel.
I know.
It's a lot better than
I'm struggling to throw live shrimp off my dock, and TJ comes over one time and he pulls in a monster red that he can barely hold up. And I'm just going, this is the story of my life, man. I worked so hard, and he throws in one live shrimp and pulls
just
in
remember, the further you hold the fish from you, the bigger it looks. So you need to.
It's all about the angles.
Yeah.
From the
it's all about these guys. But
yeah, if you start catching fish, let me know. If I start catching fish, I'll let you know, because he's the only one successful at this point. The 2 of us are still.
It's on Instagram too. I mean, it's true if it's on social media.
It's got to be factual. Yeah.
Pretty much everything he does is on Instagram, so you can just go by and check that out.
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram. I've seen some interesting social.
You probably have seen
some interesting social media posts.
At TJ Ward FL, in case our listeners,
I could probably find a picture of a post that you guys did.
Speaking of,
no, hold on one second.
Are we going there yet?
No, we're not going there yet.
All right, because he had some homework and he did it very well, from what I understand.
Yeah,
so you're not.
We may.
You're not privy to all of this.
We'll see where it goes. I don't.
All right.
So, city council. We both served together at the same time. We're in leadership together. Great opportunity for me, and I may have a little story I want to share with the folks in Jacksonville about that. But give us a little bit of your thought on our time. Mayor John Payton, who was in office at the time. We got to serve with him. And tough times in Jacksonville at that point. Seen a lot of growth and opportunities since then. What are your thoughts about that?
It's interesting, Daniel. When I ran, and you know this, you're laser focused on winning. I remember, I never will forget the day that I won my city council seat, and I thought to myself, what was I doing? I have this incredible obligation now to serve. I mean, we're both district council people. You just serve primarily this district you're in, but in reality, the entire city. And I had a ton of pressure to perform. I'd only been this little tiny family business that I controlled everything, and it was really great to go to be one of 19 and to work with Mayor Payton. It was an incredibly great opportunity. It was something that I've always remembered fondly. I grew so much during those 8 years that I was on council. Super honored to have served as council president in my 4th year. I mean, obviously, you and I served. It was a whole West Side group of people that served there in a row, and it was a great run. And just last week, somebody came to me and reminded me about something that I'd done when I was on council, which that's been 15 years ago that particular thing happened. But you realize that you make an impression that's long lasting on the city, and that opportunity is incredible. I'm a little worried and a little nervous about the future, that you and I took that chance and did it and served well and had amazing times and challenging times at the same time. I'm worried that great people won't continue to do it in the future because of the negative side of it. And
I feel like we had a special counsel.
I think
the folks
so.
that came in, I mean, you had Kevin Hyde, president right before you, and then I had an opportunity to serve, and you had Ronnie Fussell, all business leaders in the community, and others that were on the council as well had a pretty strong business mind that knew how the whole government worked, and it was pretty successful at the time.
Yeah, and the part I liked about it was, and you and I didn't always agree. I mean, there's two things I remember about you and I serving together on that. One was we would disagree totally on a subject. I mean, there's times that I tried to beat you and you tried to beat me on a particular item, but when it was done, we were still great friends.
Yeah.
And the one I remember the most, probably that I want to touch on is, there's legislation that goes through committees and it finishes and then it gets to full council and you pretty much know what's going on. Well, one night there was a zoning matter that comes up, nobody says anything about it. It's, open the ballot, record the vote, and takes 10 votes to pass anything on the city council. And typically on land use and zoning, it's usually like 18 or 19 to 1. So really no big deal. Well, this night the vote was 2 to 17. There's only 2 people that voted for this particular item. These 2. Okay. Daniel and I were the only 2. And we look at each other like, well, I guess something happened that nobody told us about because we looked like kind of silly being the only 2 votes and they knew it was going down. But
who else would you rather?
I don't mind being on an island with you. I'd ride that all day long. Yeah.
It's it was such good legislation that got passed when we were there. I mean, many of the things that are still working today were done not by Michael Corrigan, Daniel Davis alone, but it was just a full council that looked at. You took care of the community a whole lot. I'm not being critical of today's council. I'm just saying we had a really good one back then.
Yeah, we did.
I'm curious to know if, from both of you, was there something that stood out that you accomplished together that was like a collaborative effort during your time serving together on the council? Is there something that stands out in particular?
Well, I mean, I can list a whole bunch of them.
The
One of them.
budgets were brutal.
Yeah.
The budgets were brutal.
The budgets were brutal. And Daniel hinted on it. There was no money. And we were trying to keep a city running with, the worst economic times we'd had in a generation and had to make a tough decision regarding some things. One that still's used, that not talked about that much, that he and I started, was dredging creeks and rivers in certain areas that the homeowners helped pay for. And we had one that was right on our district boundary between the 2 of us, and we did it, and it was supposed to be successful, but then it ended up being unsuccessful, and I had to go back and do it. But it was the city that botched that particular process. But to think that people can still find a way to make their waterfront property accessible, and that's been 20 years since that happened.
T, I would tell you that my experience with Michael brought a business mindset to his decision-making process, but he was very knowledgeable about city. Like, I was super green. I was 30 when I took office and was trying to learn on the fly, and I all the time would look to Michael and kind of say, okay, if he's supporting this, he's got good points to it. I know that's probably a good spot to be in. So, and he's earned my respect on many ways. And I would tell you that, lots of people talk to council members or elected leaders at different times, and they tell them what they want to hear, and I remember one time, I felt like I probably should tell this story just so TJ could understand our friendship.
Now I'm nervous.
Yeah. Uh-oh. And so, I was finance chair and was gonna look like I had the votes to be vice president after Michael. You never know until the votes are counted, but there was just people in my ear telling me what I wanted to hear, and that's a normal thing that people kind of get attracted to that. And somebody said, "Oh man, you ought to just skip Michael and just go straight into vice president." And I didn't immediately say, "Get out of my face." I was just like, "Oh, tell me why you
entertained it a little bit,
stupid like that." And that stuff never stays in one conversation. It moves. Everybody knows whatever's happening in Jacksonville. And we grabbed breakfast at White Ways. We'd catch up all the time. And he goes, "Hey, I know this is out there. like it was like this humble, firm confrontation that, like, I was like, you're right. And instead of him hawing, I grabbed a napkin out of the dispenser at the table, and I said, I, Daniel Davis, commit to my vote to Michael Corrigan for vice president, signed my name on the napkin and handed it to him. And did you get any other commitments by napkin?
That was the only napkin commitment I got.
Oh, okay.
But I'll share two things with you. One is I still got that napkin.
That's awesome.
I'm not losing that napkin. And two is I realized at that moment two things. One was because of the way I approached it to you. One was maybe I can be a leader in this community. Yeah. I mean, I'd been elected, but you get elected by having the most votes.
Right. You
become a leader by leading, and that conversation helped me realize maybe I do have the ability to lead. And two was it 1,000% cemented our friendship and relationship. For the fact that his response was right, his immediate action was perfect, and I'd take a bullet for him. I still would take a bullet for him because of that. Because that was, he could have easily said, deal with it. He could have easily said, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, but no, he manned up. He said what was true, and I've never forgotten it.
About 20 years later, we're still talking. I
was going to say, that's 25 years ago. And now y'all could have never known that you'd be working so closely to sell the city that you love and that you grew up in. And how cool is that your relationship was solidified way back then, and now it continues to grow.
Yeah. And he referenced, we go to London. I have the opportunity to go with the Jacks USA and the Chamber to London every year on that economic mission. And I've never seen leadership in the community so lockstep in the same direction that it is now. I mean, we've been around this for 20 plus years, and it is amazing. Whether I'm with Daniel or with Andre Wallace at Jacks USA or one of the leaders, they can start a sentence and forget something and we finish it. And vice versa. I can start something and they finish it. And that ability, I mean, we're hearing every year when we go over there now, you're the only community that does anything like this.
They have no other community.
Yeah, I got to witness it firsthand. This year was my first year. And without this sounding like the Mutual Admiration Society, it really is like that. And I heard the ambassador say, Jacksonville is the one city that we want to do business with the most. Y'all have shown up, for the last decade and invested in our community. And as a result, this amazing partnership has been formed, and we're seeing the benefits of it. They're seeing the benefits. I was amazed just sitting in that reception and listening to everybody talk about, the collaboration that has taken place, that continues to take place. It's so encouraging from, somebody that has been on the outside of it for so long, and now it just gets a peek behind the curtain.
And for all the haters out there, we have landed thousands of jobs in this community, and there are thousands more coming. And I think that there's a close correlation between Jacksonville and London and the London Bridge. It's pretty cool to be a part of that.
Well, I mean, you just look at what the evolution of us since 1995 when the Jaguars were announced. I mean, when that particular entity, NFL franchise, only one of 32 in the country, you had to say Jacksonville, Florida, located just south of Georgia. I mean, but now just with that, you were able to over the life of that particular team from them. You say Jacksonville, everybody knows it's in Florida. Mm-hmm. Everybody pretty much knows where it is that follows sports anyway. A decade plus ago, we started that in London. You said Jacksonville, London on year 1 or 2. They didn't have a clue. You could have been in Kansas City and they wouldn't have had a clue where you are. But now they know where we are. They know they want to come here. I mean, you don't have to explain Jacksonville and London anymore.
Totally agree.
And so we've taken the United States and we solved it. Now we're starting to make a name for ourselves in London. And this particular last year, I got to go north to Carlisle, England, and start sharing Jacksonville's message up on the far northern part of England. So we're now starting to spread out in England, and Jacksonville there's a lot of communities that are watching what we're doing and are both jealous and nervous about the success we're having.
And no matter where you go, you're going to hear Duval. When you say Jacksonville, that's kind of the sound.
Yeah, but they have an English accent with it. So it's pretty entertaining to listen to them yell Duval as we walk out of the stadium.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's also cool when somebody has no clue what Duval means, and they think they're getting booed.
Yeah.
I was at a concert in England a couple of years ago, and that started being screamed, and the guy's like, they're booing me already? I didn't even sing a bad song.
That's pretty hilarious. So let's talk a little bit Visit Jax.
Yeah.
So besides the spas and the treatments that you receive on a regular basis with the different entities, what does Visit Jax do, just for folks that may not know?
Yeah. Well, we never go to the spa. We never play golf. I've now had 3 careers where each one they said all you're gonna do is play golf all the time. I've yet to find that sweet spot where I can do that. So I'm a little disappointed that didn't happen, but super excited. Visit Jacksonville is the tourism authority for the city of Jacksonville. And when I say city of Jacksonville, I'm not talking about the administration or city hall. I'm talking about everybody in Jacksonville. Our job is to promote Jacksonville to the world. Obviously, because of budget constraints, we focus on the United States. We do a lot of attention to places you can directly fly here, or you can drive here in a day's drive. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're marketing to, but we're primarily really 3 things. One is we're a marketing company, a very large marketing company in relation to others in town. We are marketing Jacksonville around the country, and we're marketing in every, whether it's social media or print media or bringing influencers in or doing TV commercials, radio commercials, everything. We're covering the gamut on that.
And so people go, I've never seen a Visit Jax commercial. It's because they live in Jacksonville.
Right.
You're already here.
Yeah,
we want the other people to come.
I love it when Tampa puts a big ad out here in Jacksonville, and I'm told by dozens of people every time, well, Jacksonville never does an ad like that. Well, yeah, we're doing ads like that
already
in
here.
Tampa.
Yeah, well, guess what? The Tampa people are seeing it.
We're not going to advertise here. Yeah. But that we did learn that at coming out of the pandemic that over 50% of the people that come to Jacksonville to visit friends and family. And we didn't really know that. So we're now spreading our message locally more than we ever used to. We're not doing a lot of dollar investments, but we're doing a lot of other things, which I'm happy to expand on. But
I was going to say, some of like the social media, you've informed me of things I didn't know existed in Jacksonville, and I've lived here my whole life. So I think that's important too, the point that you make that people that are here need to know exactly what their city has to offer beyond what they're used to. So
yeah,
I mean, and that's important. That's really important. We also the marketing arm of it does the trails we have. We have a ale trail, which is all the breweries here in town. We now have a coffee and donuts trail, the only coffee and donut trail in the United States. There's coffee trails and there's donuts trails, but there's not a coffee and donut trail. I saw that at
Southern Grounds this morning. I had a meeting in San Marco, and I saw that there was an advertisement right by the cash register.
It has been phenomenal. The response from the small local companies, because you're only allowed to be local. You can't be a chain. You can't be from somewhere else. You got to be a local coffee or donut shop. The response has been overwhelmingly positive.
I'm gonna have to get on the donut trail.
Man, you don't eat donuts. This guy right here.
I cannot wait to hit that donut trail.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's
pretty good. And then the third one that we started last year was the Mayport Shrimp Trail. We have the best shrimp in the country.
I would be
and now we're getting more and more restaurants that are talking about that. But that's a way to get locals involved and locals to go into Visit Jacksonville site. And if you download our app, it's location driven. So if you're like, you don't know what to do, as you said, TJ, I know stuff I never knew before. If you went to the app and said, what is there to do here? It's going to tell you what to do in an area around you. Yep. So it's the only one that does that as far as information about what to do here in town. And it's phenomenal. So that's one leg of what we do. The second one's group tourism, and we talked about the Bring It Home campaign. Their role is to bring groups and conferences and conventions here in town. The key is, if you call us first, reach out to us first, we're going to be able to do so many things. We're going to get you a better hotel package. We're going to get you better facilities, all that. We're going to help you from day one to make sure you have a complete package. We don't make the decision for you. We just send out the RFP and give you multiple choices. So at the chamber, if you wanted to do something here in town, instead of calling 6 hotels to find out which one's got the best rate on whether it's amenities or the property itself, we'll just do an RFP and they'll all give you bids on it and what they can do. Yeah. And we know when the peak times and the need times and all that, so you can massage your schedule by a day or two and end up having a much better conference at a much
What about
better
Davis
rate.
Family Spring Break?
We definitely can do the Davis Family Spring Break.
Just do an RFP for the Davis
we'll just do it.
Family
100%.
Yeah.
You kind of half joke, but if you're doing a wedding, we can help you do the wedding. We can help you do that side of it. You're doing a family reunion, we do family reunions all the time. So yeah, the Davis spring break,
We'll do
you'll be
the
getting
RFP.
a call from one of my
Okay.
associates.
Well,
Hey.
let's do that.
Michael, what about walking tours? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
So I was at an event at Hardwick's. It was like a birthday party for some friends, extended acquaintances, and I saw one of those walk by. And what's the deal with that? Because I wasn't even aware that existed.
There are walking tours, there's self-guided tours, there are app described tours. I mean, there's all kind of tours, whether it's public art or history, or there's an underground Jacksonville tour, there's a above and beyond tour. I mean, there's so many different tours that are available, either done by Visit Jacksonville or done with one of our partners that we work with, are phenomenal.
But all of that they can access through
the
Visit
app.
Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then the third and final one is what we call the Destination Experience Team. That's the team that's responsible for making sure that whether you're an individual, family, or a conference coming to town, you have a great experience in Jacksonville. So they're going to go out of their way to make sure that happens. You may interact with them on chat from the website or the app. You may interact with them in a visitor center. There's a visitor center at the corner of Lower and Forsyth downtown. There's a visitor center when you come down the escalator at the airport. Right in front of you, there's a visitor center. There's a non-manned visitor center at the Beaches Museum, and then our fourth one's a mobile visitor center called Seymour Jacks, which goes to events constantly here in town to educate people about what there is to do in Jacksonville. But that team's responsible for making sure whatever promise we make, we not only meet that promise, but we exceed the expectation of the client.
Let me ask you this, because I don't know if everybody understands the impact of a game like the Florida-Georgia game and why it is so important for Jacksonville, and why, as we construct the new stadium, the future, that's here for a long, long time. I mean, what does that mean to Jacksonville to have hundreds of thousands of people coming here? When we talk about room rates and vacancies, what's the difference on a weekend that you would have the Florida-Georgia game versus just a normal weekend for our business owners in the community?
Yeah, it goes way past the hotel room, I'll tell you that. Obviously, the hotels, they're going to charge what they think they can get for those particular rooms. Well, the higher the demand, the more revenue they can get, and that's obviously good for the hotel properties themselves. We work constantly to make sure that the calendar stays as full as we can to keep that occupancy kind of level, but it peaks. It peaks at Florida, Georgia. It peaks when there's a Jaguars are playing a team in a winter community. They all come down here. I mean, Jacksonville is a great value compared to other destinations, even in Florida. In Florida, we're still one of the better values. So as you look at the NFL schedule, you go, we're going to Jacksonville and do that. So that has a direct impact on the hotels. But I'll tell you this, and most people don't understand this. If it isn't for tourism, your favorite restaurant or your favorite local store is not going to make it.
Yeah.
They are totally reliant on tourism coming in and filling that void. We go to dinner, most of us in Jacksonville, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Well, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday, those are the days the tourists fill up a lot of that void, and we push people to come in. That's when your conferences and conventions are taking place, is primarily on those days of the week. So they're going into your favorite local restaurant, and they're supporting it during the days that regular business isn't going to be there. And that's why we came out so positively coming out of the pandemic, because we were open so fast and so many people came here, and you could do that. The other part about it, and when we market this, you can come here without reservations.
Right.
Matter of fact, you don't have to have reservations. You can go in many restaurants here and get your favorite meal at your favorite restaurant without having to make a reservation 2 months in advance. That's huge. That's a huge selling point, because if you go to a big city, you've got to make that reservation weeks in advance and everything else. So that,
if you were going to put the as close of a ballpark as you can on an economic impact for a big postseason playoff game or a Florida-Georgia game, is there a number out there that most of our businesses can understand as an impact?
Well, I mean, minimum $30 million impact.
$30 million in one weekend.
1 3-hour football game.
Yeah.
That's like a Florida-Georgia type number.
That's huge, yeah.
But if you get into the playoff, the college football playoff games or NCAA basketball tournaments, stuff of those nature, it multiplies, because people are staying here longer periods of time. And remember, they're also staying at hotel rates that are better than on a low occupancy.
Yeah. And then you talk about that. I know that you've been a leader in some other areas just beside the CVB or the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but understanding that, Jacksonville, we've got a lot to offer, and people, once they see it, they understand it. but we've missed the boat on sports and on competitive tournament opportunities here in this community. And all over the state, they're cashing in on parents traveling all around, or, you know, college tournaments or track meets or volleyball games. And we've had some NCAA tournaments here at the arena. But talk a little bit about your vision and how you thought through why this is a void that needs to be filled.
Sure, great. I appreciate you asking that question. Jacksonville has always been a host of leading sporting events. Florida, Georgia is a great example, Gator Bowl. But the reality is, for the last decade, we haven't done a really good job of going out and finding those events and bringing them to Jacksonville. And you're right, there's a lot of communities that have every week there's another baseball tournament, a soccer tournament, whatever it is. And we're not very much in that game. It has a little bit to do with how our park system's set up. It all has to do with the facilities that are available. But the reality is there's so much revenue potential from sports, and you have to think beyond just Little League baseball. I'm not picking on that. But you have to think about is, what about senior sports? What about adaptive sports? You know, who's the leader in the country in adaptive sports? We have amazing facilities here.
Does anybody have that market?
There's a city in Alabama, which I can't recall at this moment, that does a pretty good job of attracting that. But we're working daily with people that are in that particular market. Brooks Rehab, for one, and Doug Bear at Brooks and I have talked about multiple times being able to maximize that opportunity, because they are there's a lot of untapped resources. The other part is you have to look at the hotel stock your community has. Jacksonville is known as the select service property king of the country, and what that means is that's your Hampton Inns, your Residence Inn by Marriott, all those types of Hyatt Place, all those types of hotels. Those are highly prevalent here in Jacksonville. Those are perfect for sports tourism, because you can come in, you're not looking for the complete high-end hospitality model, and that's what Jacksonville has, almost 300 of them now. I mean, it's just incredible what we have. So you attract sports that be able to do that. The best example I can give you is University of North Florida. The Tourist Development Council and Visit Jacksonville has partnered with them a couple times to make capital improvements to their facility, which when they host an NCAA regional track meet, it fills up every single hotel in our community. I mean, every single hotel is singing the praises. If you did the same thing with a youth sport, pick your sport, doesn't matter. There's a lot of things that go negative on those, and I hate to say that, but you might put 10 kids that are playing lacrosse in one room, and you come back and you got $700 worth of damage, and you got $150 in room revenue. So we were working directly with those hotel properties to say, what do you want? How does that track? And that's the difference now. And now there's a complete focused effort on what's best for us, what facilities we have that we can excel in, and then how do we go out and get that and get the corporate community to help us grow that.
Are you pulling focus groups together from the hotel?
No, it's a combination of talking to the hotels, which we have industry meetings regularly doing that. It's hiring a consultant to help us with sports tourism and telling us what's hot, what's not, where is it, where could it be. It's talking to corporate community. What do you want to see here? What are you involved in? I mentioned Brooks a few minutes ago. It's talking to large entities like that are already in that industry. And then it's going to conferences and conventions. And we're at them all now. We didn't used to be at them, but we're at them, and we hear these opportunities. You know, we probably today sitting here have $10 million of, if we got everything we're working on now, we would need $10 million of support to bring in here, because each one, all of it is driven by, you know, bid fees and stuff of that nature. So we spend a lot of time trying to decide what's best for what Jacksonville has to offer, and it's getting better every day. For instance, I mentioned the Stadium of the Future, reimagining that. Well, when they opened Miller Performance Center, they left the flex field. We're now working directly with the Jaguars administration on how to repurpose that and become something that can compete with the facility that Gainesville built down next to Spurrier's down there, where they're hosting basketball tournaments and everything else. That flex field can turn into be a premier basketball, volleyball, tennis facility that, you know, there's not many places that have a 90,000 square foot, no beams anywhere with a 72-foot high ceiling. That's an incredible asset that we're going to maximize. But 5 years ago, we would have just let it go and closed the doors on it.
Right. So. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, the sports stuff has really taken off, and it's just like everything else. The better job we do at telling the story, the more people that are coming and want to bring their event here. And we're even taking advantage of the ocean more than we used to. We used to kind of ignore the fact that we had an incredible beach, but we're one of the hottest surf markets for sure on the East Coast, for sure. And we continue to get more and more.
And now you're going to have the man-made surfing pool.
That thing is huge.
Out in Nocatee area. That's going to be pretty amazing. E-Town.
E-Town is that facility when it opens will.
And it's world-class championships.
Oh.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see
things are falling in place on the sports side of the world. Things are falling in place so fast that it's incredible.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you listen. You see the void. We've got to fill it. Nobody else is doing it. I'm going to do it, and I just love that. And that's kind of the dude that I've seen since I served on the city council.
I appreciate it. We worked a long time. Visit Jacksonville worked really hard to get us in a good position to be able to lead that effort, and we've all and the organization's always led it. But I feel like we're in a perfect position with, as I mentioned earlier, there's never been a time that everybody's on the same page taking the city forward. And it's going to be incredible. I mean, you better hope you're here because it's going to be a pretty interesting run.
So you talked a little bit about New Trend Plastics, and you own a small business owner here in town. What was that a little bit about? I know your favorite job is where you are today, but I got another question for you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the small business that helped you with your time on the city council to understand how the machine works.
Well, I'll tell you, New Trend Plastics manufactured light gauge plastic packaging. The best is the brown tray and a Peterbrook chocolate, or if you buy a graham cracker pie crust, that plastic tray that comes in there. We were making millions of those. A little sitting over in a corner, doing just incredible work over there for 30 years, and it taught me so much because I started by working in the plant and just had no idea what really was to be an employee and an appreciation. I always remember one time I went out and bought a bunch of plastic magnetic things that held 4x6 pictures, and I put each employee's name on it. I stuck on the refrigerator, and I told them at the company meeting that week, I said, hey, I want each one of you to bring in your favorite picture from home because you spend more waking hours helping us be successful than you do anything else. And they all brought in pictures, whether it was a dog or a family, and of course we reserved the right to take a picture down, but never had to. But that belief and our belief in those people that were running the plant was incredible because they then felt like they were part of the business.
That's awesome.
And so I learned so many of those little things that you take for granted. And so when I transitioned to the city council, which was an incredible honor to be able to be there, I never forgot that.
Yeah.
And that was important to realize that the people that love what we're doing don't come down to City Hall and tell you, I love you, you're doing a great job.
Right,
Yeah. But the people that have an issue with it do, and you need to listen to them. And he and I, you remember every zoning that we ever talked about, we're like, okay, how does it affect you and everything else? So it was not just me, it was a whole bunch of us on the council then, especially you and I. But if you remember how it affects Joe taxpayer, then you can make much better decisions, and that's what we did.
So you're at the manufacturing plant,
right?
And you were an employee, and you pushed a button, and you would smash the plastic, move the thing on. Did you ever fall asleep? Like, is there ever a time that you missed?
What's the statute of limitations? I'm not sure. We evolved to where it told you when you started to stop.
Okay.
You could do an emergency stop, but you.
I could see you off here doing this, and
one night
you missed the button push, and
we were more than once in my formidable days, I might add. We had to work really long hours, like all night long, and more than once I'd fall asleep and you wake up and there's just plastic trays everywhere.
That's awesome,
because it's coming out. But it's you look back and think, that was fun and stupid and crazy and everything else. But when you're young, you think you can stay up all night and catch plastic trays, but no, you can't.
Did you hire any of your buddies to come work with you?
Usually for about 2-3 days. To me,
that seems like that would be a problem. Like if you asked us to push the button, that we'd mess that up.
Yeah, most of my buddies lasted 2-3 days, and they go, "You're crazy." I mean, my own kids, as they're growing up and turned 16, I told them, hey, you need to come work in the plant because that's where I started, and so they come work in the plant, and boy, I didn't have to worry about them going to college after that. They were like, no, we're not doing that. And
speaking of which, one of the things that we talk about here on the podcast is jobs. That's everything that's important to our community as far as quality of life and putting food on the table. But as you were growing up, we know you got the best job in the world now, but what was the worst job that you had growing up?
Probably, I turned 16. I went to work and went to Winn-Dixie, great company back then, and still a great company. And I was a grocery guy. And so you go over there, and it's the middle of the summer. You're working a lot of hours during the summer, and they say all clerks come to the back door. When you go back door, they were unloading a watermelon truck. Well, back in that day, you didn't have a pallet jack and pull up a ramp and back down, pulling a big pallet of them. They threw watermelons out, and you had to catch watermelons. I'm telling you, there's nothing worse in the world than spending about 4 or 5 hours catching watermelons coming out of a truck.
What?
Yeah, you had to catch them like this. I mean, I was bruised. My arm, I couldn't pick up my arms for 2 days. It was by far the worst thing I ever had to do.
So that rival is digging holes for swimming pools in the middle of the summer.
We got a couple rivals, but we're not going to out worst jobs each other.
No, but it was. I've never forgotten that. I mean, it was just.
Oh my goodness! They're throwing watermelons out.
I see it now that the giant boxes they come in on pallets, and I'm like, yeah,
they don't even know.
They have no idea.
So Michael,
I should be all built up, from doing that.
Right.
No.
You mentioned.
Well, I would say he was an avid runner in the river run, and until he would get called out of town. And,
well, now that's not really fair. I mean, come on.
I mean, what? So every city council leading up to the river run, we'd put a little team together.
Okay.
And then he would stand up at the end of the meeting and say, I was part of the team, but I've been called out of town. And
it was legitimate the first couple of years.
Duty calls.
He goes, and he goes, I'm going to be at the Orange Park Cracker Barrel at 8 a.m. And any of you that would like to be called out of town, please join me at 8 a.m.
I 1 year offered my high top Converse for anybody that needed a pair of shoes to run the river run in. So did you run it last year?
No.
I got something for you.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He came prepared.
Okay. I ran the river run last year, sir. So
wow.
I brought this down. I saw it on my desk and I said, I don't want to do this, but I can't.
I'm coming with that today.
No prouder moment than me to let you help.
Thank you so much. Is this what it feels like to finish the race?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Just to clarify, you have to finish the race to get that. It's not the beginning of the race.
Are you sure that's your medal and not somebody else's?
How many old ladies passed you going up that bridge?
It's not who passes you. It's how you finish.
Oh, that's right.
I finished. Now, I will admit that when I finished, there was a mutual friend of ours that we worked with at City Hall. I finished, and I'm, of course, almost, passed out. And she goes, Michael, just like that. And I go, yeah. She goes, you finished the river run? Because she remembered the story, and she's taking selfies of me and her of finishing the river run together.
That is awesome. That makes me. It just proves the fact that you're always ready for whatever's coming.
I knew you would give me some smack about something, so I just I'm in it. I'm in it.
You mentioned having your employees bring in pictures from home to show kind of what their family is all about, that type of thing. So we gave you some homework before you came on that has to do with pictures, with photographs. You want to share some of those and kind of tell us?
Do you want me to share some of those, TJ? You sure?
Well, they're all about Daniel, right?
I'm fine with it. The audience at home is going to get a chance to look at these too, but this is the first time I've had a chance to see it.
Yeah, I'm
easy.
Well, you want to start?
What do we have here?
You want to start? You want to go to a couple of them real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, this one, TJ, I don't know if you know this or not. This is a picture of me making a foul shot in Phoenix, Arizona, on the Phoenix Suns.
Look at that form.
Yeah,
Can I?
Yeah, you can.
Let me start with saying I'm still pretty upset about this.
Who's the other person in this picture?
That's Daniel watching that shot swish for the 6th free throw in a row that got me victory in the Chambers.
Oh, wow.
Free throw.
We had a little competition. I mean, I know that surprises you that we're going to have a competition, but.
And you're not bitter.
And this is the other thing.
At all.
We created a pool where everybody could bet on who they thought was going to win. This guy bets on himself. He didn't bet on anybody else. He bet on himself and then ended up winning all of the money. And it just, to this day, I'm so happy for you. I'm very, very happy.
Part of my winnings was to enjoy a meal at a local restaurant. I'm looking forward to taking my near river run finisher.
But I didn't show up.
to do that. And you're welcome to join us too, TJ.
I tell you what, that's good form.
That's pretty good form.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It was absolute luck.
Look at that.
No, and I'm not even going to admit to it, but I got to see what else you got.
Well, I mean, this one is a little totally different on this one. This particular one, TJ, this is a speed hump. This is to remind everyone that life is full of speed humps. I mean, there's always going to be an obstacle in your way or something else. It just happens to be taken on Daniel Street, where they just installed, I think, 85 speed humps.
Well, in like 200 signs.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I caught air on that just last week. I didn't realize that they were there, and I went.
Well, there's 200 signs. How do you miss it?
There's a big old sign over here.
All I know is that when the Davis dogs get out, they have a much better opportunity to live because of those.
And it needs to be
with
done.
All those kids on that street. I mean, it is just, they fly up and down there. And so I'm okay with the.
Yeah, and full disclosure, for those that don't know, there's a process, and you've got to get the residents to approve it. I mean, it's not just done.
Right.
That is literally the sign in my front yard, speed hump.
This picture, just because I like bragging, is my granddaughter fishing with her brand new fishing pole she got on Saturday.
So sweet.
So, and her mom and her uncle out retrieving the fish that came off the line.
The already fished fishing pole.
Yeah, the already fished fishing pole. And then the last one, I hate to share it, but I feel it, since I had homework, I feel like I need to. This particular one I found on social media. This would be my two hosts here today with the caption
that is him, okay? That is all his fault.
So he had to pose for it. It's not like it's not like you were caught off guard.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't show you here, but my crack team of marketing people here blew this up. I actually was at the gym with y'all. I was back here. You can't really see me in this, but I was at the gym and just didn't get asked to be in the picture.
If this is you trying to hate, haters gonna hate, man. And if you got to try to bring that, that's fine.
Well,
two old dudes trying to flex in a mirror. I'll remember that. Whatever you put on the internet never comes.
So, Michael, I think the caption for that is something like training partners since 1988.
It's exactly what it was.
So he and I have been working out for many, I don't know how many years that is.
That's a long time.
I'm not good at math, but.
And see, it was so similar because I worked out since 1988.
There you go.
Once.
So middle school is when I met this guy, and we played football together, started working out.
I'm just jealous. I mean,
been throwing weights around since middle school. So.
That's awesome.
And it's crazy that the three of us get a chance to sit here and kind of just talk through who the real Michael Corrigan is. Yeah. And bro, I count you as a dear, dear friend. You and your family have been dear to me, and your kids were just little babies running around city council and city hall whenever I was there, and to see them growing up today, man, I got to tell you, it makes me so proud. It makes me so proud that you're leading Jacksonville in many respects, and we can sit around and goof off about stupid stuff, and that's what this is about.
Right.
But for 1 second, I just want to be serious and tell you how much I appreciate you and your friendship, and I'm so glad TJ got a chance to meet you.
Yeah, Daniel, I appreciate that, and I echo that. I mean, I didn't know when we first met, both running for council, that for multiple decades that we were A, going to be this good of friends, and B, make this big of a difference in our community. And our parents taught us to give back. Yeah. And we can, we give back and without anything. And TJ, I mean, the work you're doing is amazing as well. But to have a chance to come on and spend some time with two great friends, and to give you Raj a little. I saw that on social media and that picture, and said I got to joke with them about it. But the reality is, you guys, you're loved in the community, and you do great work, and to have a chance for the three of us to make a difference in our community is a great opportunity.
Bro, thanks for coming on, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Speakeasy Jacks. If you enjoyed the conversation, follow us on our social media platforms, share it with a friend, and make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.